Today we're talking about the 308 Winchester. And the reason we're talking about the 308 Winchester, well, that'll become clear here at the end when I explain our Christmas project that we're about to start working on. But I felt like before jumping into that project, we really needed to talk about the 308 Winchester by itself because it is such an interesting cartridge and there's just so much to learn here. So where do we even start with the 308 Winchester? I mean, seriously, where do we start with this one? Because there is so much to talk about with this cartridge and so many rabbit holes we can go down with this one. It was until recently, very recently, the most popular cartridge, at least here in the US, and I'm guessing some other places. And what made it so popular is that it was popular across the board with all of the different types of shooting. So target shooters, plinking, hunters, tactical, military and police, it used across the board by everybody, competitive target shooters. That's what made it so popular. And the reason the 308 was so good in all of those roles is because this is the culmination of all of the great cartridges developed in the first half of the 20th century. So the 7mm Mauser, 303 British, 30-06, and so many others. This is the culmination of all of them. And just to show you what I mean, it was developed to be a shorter version of the 30-06, but still come close to the 30-06 in performance. And it does. It's about 100 feet per second slower than 30-06 with the lighter bullets. A little slower than that with the heavier ones, but it's close. It's 100 feet per second faster than 303 British, so pretty close to it. If you take a 308 case and you neck it down and put a 7mm bullet in it, 7mm 08, 7mm 08 is ballistically identical to a 7mm Mauser. It's the culmination of so many of these. That's why it works so well across the board, and the development of the 308 cartridge, everybody contributed to its development. Right, so the 308, it's not, the parent case of 308 is not the 30-06, it's the 300 Savage, which is almost identical to this, just a shorter neck. All right, the 300 Savage was created by Arthur Savage. He's the one that came up with the idea of let's make a shorter version of the 30-06 that's close to it in performance. What the reason he wanted to do that was because he wanted it to fit into the magazine of his Model 99 lever action rifle. And that's why I would say the Model 99 is the father of all of the short action rifles. So he created the 300 Savage. It was close to performance in the 30-06. It was a hunting cartridge and a hunting rifle loved and used by hunters for years. And then eventually the military said, you know, that's a good idea. Let's make a shorter cartridge that has close to the same performances of the 30-06 for a new semi-automatic / fully automatic rifle that they were working on. So they tweaked the 300 Savage. We got the 308, or that led to the 308 that Winchester introduced. So everybody contributed to the development of this cartridge, and that's why it's so universally useful across the board among all the different types of shooting. And that's why the 308 became the workhorse of the shooting world. So the 308 Winchester, having so many of the characteristics of the great cartridges from the first half of the 20th century, it's no surprise it became the most popular cartridge of the second half of the 20th century. With that said, though, its popularity began to decline almost immediately. It was developed for the military and adopted by the U.S. military first and then NATO. And disclaimer, I'm using the term 308 Winchester and 7.62 NATO interchangeably here. I know 7.62 is a different loading, loaded to lower pressures than a 308 Winchester. So any of you that have a rifle chambered for 7.62 NATO, you need to check and make sure that you can use 308 Winchester in your rifle without it causing damage. before you go trying it. All right, so they are different. All right, with disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to use the terms interchangeably. 308 is essentially the civilian version of the 7.62 NATO. Okay, the U.S. military, they abandoned the 308 as a standard service issued cartridge almost immediately, along with the M14 rifle. So the 308 had the shortest service life of a standard issue cartridge and of any cartridge in U.S. military history. But it didn't go away. It remained very popular with all of the other types of shooting, and it never disappeared from the military, because the needs of the military that led to all of the other great cartridges in the past, those needs didn't go away. So the 308 Winchester remained in service and is still in service to this day. The M14 itself, it didn't go away. It eventually, after alterations and so forth, it eventually emerged as a squad's designated marksman's rifle. That need was still there. But its popularity did begin to decline with the introduction of the 5.56 or 223, which was adopted by the U.S. military and then other NATO countries after that. And as far as long-range target shooting, the 6.5 Creedmoor surpassed the 308 in popularity, and now the 6.5 Creedmoor has spilled over into the other types of shooting, and it has become the most popular cartridge here in the U.S. now, replacing the 308 Winchester. Okay, so with all that said, what is the future of the 308 Winchester? And honestly, I really don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of ways this could play out. For one, okay, the U.S. military, they've adopted a new cartridge, the 277 Fury by SIG, and it's for the new XM5 rifle. Okay, that's a full-grown rifle cartridge. That's not a carbine cartridge. And that could replace the 308 Winchester once and for all. Right. But that's the 277 Fury. That's for a military for a country with an unlimited budget. And I don't know that the U.S. has that right now, considering we're $31 trillion in debt. Plus, the XM5 rifle has a lot of the same issues that the original M14 rifle had. It's big and it's heavy. So I don't know how that's going to play out. And I say that as far as budget reasons, because the 277 Fury, to me, it appears that it's got an issue that hunters and target shooters are very familiar with, called overbore. And the 277 Fury appears to take the concept of being overbore to a completely new level. Right, so I don't know how many shots they're going to get out of those barrels. I don't guess it's going to be many. And that's going to be the expense. I mean, changing over, yeah, that's a huge expense. But if your barrels aren't lasting but 5 minutes, if you get 3 bursts out of the rifle and you need a new barrel, it's shot out. Okay, I know they're not that bad, but it's got to be horrible. Okay, that would get expensive long term. Whereas the 308 Winchester, if we take the ratio of the case capacity compared to the bore diameter, all right, and that's a very useful way of looking at overbore. The larger the case capacity and the smaller the bore diameter, the more overbore you're getting. 308 Winchester has one of the lowest ratios of case capacity to bore diameter, which is why 308s have exceptionally long barrel life. Right. In a military that was concerned about finances, I don't know that ours ever will be, but and one that was concerned about it, that could make the 308 continue to be useful. And as far as target shooting, not competition shooting, but just target shooting, that still makes the 308 a great option, because 308 rifles do have such a long barrel life, especially in an environment a recessionary, depressionary environment where money is tight, which seems to be where we're going worldwide right now, into a recession, a serious one, 308 could remain a great option because rifles with extremely long barrel lives are a good value. And it's a rifle you can shoot for a really long time and get a lot of use out of. So it might remain popular for target shooting. And for hunting, I think 308's definitely going to remain popular. Okay, the 6.5 Creedmoor has become, I would say, more popular in short action than the 308 now. And 6.5 Creedmoor is a great hunting cartridge. So all you 6.5 fans, don't get upset with me here. All right, but there's this number called killing power. It's a metric that Chuck Hawks came up with. And I'll leave a link in the description below to his article explaining that. But I've always really liked that metric. And the way you come up with that number is it is the energy of the bullet multiplied by the sectional density of the bullet multiplied by the frontal surface area of the bullet. So the area of the diameter. And what I like about that metric is it takes into account the diameter of the bullet. And bullets with larger diameters, bullets with a higher killing power number, they're not going to kill anything any deader than anything else. Dead's dead. But what that number means is that a bullet with a higher killing power, it can take on larger, more powerful game. Okay? That's why it's a useful number. And that's where that diameter comes in, because the larger the bullet diameter, the bigger the hole it can put in something, and the bigger the hole, the more things it's going to break internally. Well, that's a useful number, and diameter matters when it comes to that. And the 308 Winchester has a significantly higher killing power number than 6.5 Creedmoor. And when I say significantly higher, and I know you 6.5 guys are going to say, yeah, but at a distance. Okay, 180 grain 308 Winchester at 400 yards has the same killing power at 400 yards as a 120 grain 6.5 Creedmoor at 100 yards. So we're going to talk more about killing power later, that metric, because that is an interesting one. And just to give you an idea how interesting it is, the old antiquated 303 British 180 grain bullet, it has the same killing power at 100 yards as a 270 WSM with a 140 grain bullet. Size matters. Okay, so we'll talk about that more later. For that reason alone, though, 308 is a more versatile hunting cartridge than 6.5 Creedmoor. And I know a 6.5 Creedmoor can kill anything on the planet, and you can go drop bull elephants with it, just like Bella Twin killed the world's largest grizzly bear in 1953 with a 22 long rifle. Actually, it's 22 long. But just because I can do something don't mean I should. And that's, anyway, 308's better for larger game because of that. Yeah, I think it's going to remain popular for hunting. I think it's going to be a very useful cartridge, even if it's not the most popular, for many years to come. So for myself, I think the 308 Winchester is an outstanding cartridge for anything you could want to do with it. Plus, it's a fascinating cartridge that can help us understand the progression of cartridges and rifles and how we got from where things were to where we're at now. And it's a cartridge I absolutely just love shooting, and we've got some shooting to do. This is our Christmas project. This is a rifle that it belonged to a really good friend of mine, Russell. And that belongs to his brother, Stephen, has for a long time. And Stephen's pulled this out of the safe after many years and decided he wants to get this set up and get it right. Get it shooting the absolute best it can. And he's already done a couple of things. He put a Cerakote on the barrel, which I wouldn't have done, but it's not my rifle, Stevens. And he asked me if I'd bed to action and see what I could do to get it shooting. Okay, so this is our project. And I had other things that I said we were going to work on, like the 7mm Mauser stock and bedding it and so forth. But those other projects were for myself. All right, but this is Christmas, and Christmas is about doing stuff for others. So this is something I want to do for Stephen. Plus, this particular rifle, it brings back a lot of memories. I remember when Russell got this rifle. As a matter of fact, Joey was at the store with him when he got it. And I remember all of us just being excited when he bought this. I mean, we're young, early 20s, maybe mid 20s, somewhere around there, and we were all excited. I mean, he'd bought a really gorgeous Ruger with a heavy varmint barrel and 308, and we just all knew this was just going to be a tack driver. And then he carried it to the range, and it wasn't. I don't remember what it shot. I just remember being very disappointed in the shot groups. All right, so we might have our work cut out for this one, but I just didn't know much about rifles, and we were all young, and none of us really know. So I'm just looking forward to this one. To all these years later, I've hopefully learned a little bit since then, and just applying some of that I've learned along the way to this one, and seeing, can we get this one to shoot like all of us had always hoped it would. All right, so that's our project for Christmas, and we're going to do this one for Steve. All right, I think that covered it for the 308, and Lord willing and creeks don't rise, weather's suitable. I'm going to see y'all at the range next Sunday with this rifle, and we're going to jump on this one. All right, God bless, and y'all have a great day.